Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 6. And the chapter is entitled The Appearance of Sri Narad. Kathamalakshita paurai Samprapta kuru jangalan Unmata mukha jadavat Vicharan gaja savaye Kathamalakshita paurai Samprapta kuru jangalan Unmata mukha jadavat Vicharan gaja savaye Kathamalakshita paurai Samprapta kuru jangalan Unmata mukha jadavat Vicharan gaja savaye. Please repeat.
Kathamalakshita paurai Samprapta kuru jangalan Unmata mukha jadavat Vicharan gaja savaye
Kathamalakshita
paurai
Samprapta kuru jangalan Unmata mukha jadavat Vicharan gaja savaye.
Please.
Kathamalakshita paurai
Samprapta kuru jangalan Unmata mukha jadavat Vicharan gaja savaye. Kathamalakshita paurai Samprapta kuru jangalan Unmata mukha jadavat Vicharan gaja savaye. Thank you. Katham, how, Alakshita, recognized, paurai, by the citizens, Samprapta, reaching, Kurujangalan, the Kurujangala provinces, Unmata, mad, Mukha, dumb, Jadavat, stunted, Vicharan, wandering, Gaja Savaye, Hastinapur. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. How was he, Srila Sukadev, the son of Vyasa, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? Translation, please repeat. How was he? Srila Sukadev, the son of Vyasa, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded. Purport. The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Sukadev, after leaving his paternal home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him in his exalted position. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight, but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see, but to hear him, If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there's no profit. Shukadev Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly he appeared to be a retarded, dumb madman, but in fact he was the most elevated, transcendental personality. Om Aginati Mirandasya Vinantanasha Lakaya Chakshumithamina Tasmai Shri Gurve Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Gaura Govinda Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastajadi Satayane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you for being here this morning, beautiful Sunday morning in Brisbane. And when I saw this verse, I didn't know which verse would come up, because when I was invited to give this class this morning, I was simply asked to speak on the glories of Lord Vamanadev, because it's Vamanadev's appearance day today. Vamanadev ki. Yeah. So I've got pages of notes about Lord Vamanadev, which is nice, but just see how Krishna is a genius. Krishna is a genius. In so many qualities he has in Nectar of Devotion, we can read them. And to be a genius means by one activity you can serve so many purposes. So when I read this verse, I was thinking, well, that's brilliant, because it ties in really nicely with the story of Vamanadev, because he also came hidden in a disguise. Nobody could recognize who he was, except for Sukracharya. He was a little bit suspicious. But anyhow, so we have the story here of Sukadev, the Avadut, actually walking into the city. And when I was reading it, I was thinking, well, as devotees, we're kind of like faced with the same problem in some ways. Because, devotees, they don't want to act on the material platform. They want to transcend. They want to come to the spiritual platform. And even so, apparently, they're living in this world, but they're not really a part of it, because their consciousness, their aim is very different. So sometimes even devotees, going out on Harinam or book distribution, they're kind of seen as odd. Why don't you get a job? Why don't you live a real life? I remember when we were young, going on Harinam and people shouting out from the cars, why are you wearing these bed sheets? What's this bird poo on your face? Like that, people mock you. So this is what will happen to Sukadev Goswami too. But he's not affected by it at all, because he is actually situated on the transcendental platform. He's only conscious of Krishna, so it's like water of a duck's back, we say in Australia. That he doesn't get affected by it, because these kind of attitudes spring from the mental platform. It's only if you're in the consciousness of this body, and at best your mind, you have all these judgments of what is right and what is wrong. But a pure devotee, they are on the platform of only willing, feeling and thinking for Krishna. So they have a completely different perspective. And they don't see themselves as the body or the mind. They only see themselves as a soul, as the servant of the Lord. So they don't get affected by it. But here immediately, Srila Prabhupada, he encourages that while we're in the conditioned state, we need to be careful. That's actually the purpose of Varnashram Dharma, all these duties that we are to perform, is to safeguard us against possible mistakes, especially in the Grihastha ashram. Somebody might be knocking on your door and looking maybe not so palatable or disheveled or whatever. But especially in the Grihastha ashram, we need to follow this etiquette of welcoming people, sitting them down, offering them a glass of water, like that. You see, the safety valves are there. Because you never know whom you're dealing with. Maybe you're not here in Australia, you don't have sadhus coming to your door. Maybe, unless it's, they're invited or something. But especially in India, of course. Anyhow, so the idea is that we need to be careful, that we need to do our dharma until we actually have the eyes. This is what Prabhupada is immediately going to. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight, but by hearing. Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami also warns not to recognize a sadhu by external bodily symptoms. He says it's just like the froth and the bubbles and the apparent dirt in the Ganges. We need to recognize a sadhu by how, not by what we see, but what we are hearing, what he's speaking. Prabhupada says a fool is discovered once he opens his mouth. Somebody can look very smart and very clever, but as soon as somebody opens their mouth, what comes out, then he's like that actually, you see. So there's actually a name for Krishna, Shrutekshita. It's a name for Krishna. Shrute means to hear, and Ikshita means to see. Shrutekshita pantam. So we hear, right in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, we hear how this Srimad Bhagavatam is the real nectar, right? This is the eternal nectar. It's the ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree. So much Nigama kalpataro galitam palam. Shuka mukha amrita drava samyutam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is relished by thoughtful men because it's the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literature. It emanated from the lips of Sukadev Goswami, who is, on that absolute transcendental platform. And he tasted it, he relished it, and now he's giving it. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest nectar, the most condensed nectar. But it's not drunk by the mouth, it's drunk through the ear. Shrutekshita panta. So the activity of a sadhaka is to develop the ear, to be able to receive that nectar, to recognize that nectar. You see, to relish. Sukadev Goswami is relishing, and he wants us to relish. And it says the beak of a parrot, if the fruit is first touched by that beak, then becomes even more sweet. So he's relishing, and they want us to relish. How to relish? Through the ear, by drinking this amrit through the ear. And then we can see the path. And that's what makes an ordinary, makes even ordinary devotees like us very, very different to people who are not following this path, any kind of spiritual path. Because now we're seeing through the eyes of Shastra, through the eyes of sadhus, and it shifts our consciousness, and it rises. It's just like when you're flying in an aeroplane. Eventually the plane goes up, 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 and it comes above the cloud. So in Krishna consciousness, this daily activity of hearing and chanting takes our consciousness above the clouds. All these sort of politics and competition and issues and this and that, this is just activities of the mind, manodharma. We're not interested. We are interested to go above the clouds and relish this nectar. So Shrutekshita panta. And Prabhupada is saying, he might have looked the way he did, walking naked and dirty and disheveled, matted hair and all of that. But he didn't care. He didn't come to satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. So similarly, a devotee doesn't care, actually. We can laugh it off if somebody accuses us or gives us a hard time. Now we're very fortunate. In Australia, it doesn't happen so much anymore. And it's just the fact because you've got anti-discrimination laws, anti-racist laws, and this and that. There's so many more rights. Back in the day, we used to get chased by Christians. We used to get physically attacked We used to get grabbed by the police. We used to get harassed by the council. You see, these kind of things is just part of the ISKCON history here in Australia. But a devotee is not affected because he understands, so what? Actually, a devotee feels compassion. Well, let me somehow or other change his mind or change his attitude. Prabhupada, he would read the newspapers and all these accusations against the Hare Krishnas, but he kind of just shrugged it off and said, well, how many times did they say Hare Krishna in the article? And he counted like that. And it's like, it's just like Srimati Radharani even. There's this verse, a famous verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where she says, everyone goes to the Jamuna to fetch water. But when Srimati Radharani goes, she's a prostitute. It's quite a strong word actually, but meaning that, there's village gossip. Oh, she's married to this Abhimanyu, but actually, she's always got her eyes on that Sham. Watch out, you see? So even she's not spared. Everybody goes to the Jamuna to fetch water, but when Radharani goes, she's a prostitute. But then it's explained there, whatever comes, we wear it like a garland around our neck. That's the sacrifice we're doing for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever comes, accusations or attacks or negativity, we just Trinada Pisanichana. We wear it like a garland proudly. We wear it like a garland around our neck. It's like battle scars, like that. So anyhow, I wanted to just speak a little bit on that. And like I said, today is Vamanadev's appearance day. And it ties in really nicely. So I kind of went and read the whole story, and we know that Sukracharya, he saved Bali Maharaja's life. There was a battle between the demigods and the demons came out strong and powerful because Bhrigu Muni, their guru, became very pleased, and that gave them this Brahma Tejas, or spiritual power. The significance is here that yes, we always in our devotional life, we need to aspire to please our Gurudev, and it's our Gurudev that gives us this tremendous strength. Whatever comes, we can bear it, we can tolerate it, like that. So at this time, the Guru of the demigods, Brihaspati, he tells them, look, guys, just go into hiding. The demigods, the demons are just too powerful right now. But the time will come. The time will come. And he's kind of hinting at the story, as it evolves, that Bali will offend a sadhu, and that will be his downfall. So anyhow, Bali takes over the heavenly kingdom, and he controls the three worlds. He performs 100 Ashvamedha sacrifices, but in the meantime, Aditi, the mother of the demigods, particularly Lord Indra, she's kind of really distressed. Oh, my sons, they're suffering, they're missing out. And I found that being a mother myself, I had to laugh too. Kasyapa Muni, he smiles when he sees the affection of a mother to the children and how that affects the whole world. How she's acting as a mother out of affection for her children, and this will affect the whole history. So powerful, mother's love. Anyhow, he smiles at that, and I found that interesting. So she performs this strong brata, and the Lord, of course, appears before her and assures her, after she offered so many nice prayers in submission, yes, I will come, but for the time being, keep it secret, and the time will come. Like that. I just recently, we spoke in North Sydney on a similar topic. Here is Aditi begging the Lord to come. In the beginning of the 10th canto, I think chapter 3, there's the story of how Krishna appears to Devaki and Vasudeva, in the form of four-armed Vishnu, and they're praying and asking him to please appear as a little baby, like that. So these prayers are going on, and in that purport, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada says that's all right that we can do these tapasya and these sacrifices, to invite the Lord. But why bring the Lord to our environment in relationship to who we are in this material world? He encouraged, better you take up this process of pure devotional service and go there where the Lord resides. Not invite the Lord, in relationship to what our material situation is now. And it was a very nice purport, and like we were speaking yesterday evening, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he encourages this prema pum atoma mahan, that we should, as devotees, we should aspire, to go back home, go back to be with Krishna there. This is the purpose of our activities. So then, the time came that also Vamanadev appeared in a four-armed Vishnu form to Aditi. Very beautiful. And here Prabhupada points out that the exact birth date is given. This is important, of course, because all incarnations of God are predicted and described and said who the mother and father will be and where they will appear and like that. So, of course, at that time there was a very auspicious atmosphere, huge celebration. All the demigods were showering flowers, so much so that their whole house became covered in flowers. Because Yapa Muni was exuberant, jai, and Lord Vishnu assumed this form of a brahmachari, Vamana, a brahmachari. And Prabhupada says, just like an actor. He's the Lord, but he's acting as a brahmachari. And of course there's a reason. Krishna doesn't always immediately reveal himself in his original form, because he has different pastimes, different leelas. And again, like we said at the beginning, he's a genius, and with one thing he can solve so many issues. Then there's this beautiful sacred thread ceremony, where we're hearing that the sun god appeared and gave the Gayatri mantra. Brihaspati, the guru, gave the sacred thread. Kasyapa Muni, his father, gave the straw belt. Mother Earth, the deer skin. Chandra gave the Brahma Danda. Aditi, the mother, and I thought that was hilarious. Aditi, the mother, what does she give? Anybody can remember? Cloth for underwear. Only a mother does that. Isn't it? These magnificent ceremonies going on, all these fabulous personalities are there giving all these different gifts. But the mother, she knows what's really needed. And she gives the underwear. I thought that was pretty cool. The deity of the heavenly kingdom gave the umbrella, Brahma a water pot, the seven sages Kusha grass, Sarasvati Rudraksha beads, and Kubera, being the treasurer of the demigods, he gave a pot for begging alms. So he was all set. And then the wife of Lord Shiva, Bhagavati, she gave him his first alms. So he shone brightly in his Brahman form, Isn't it when we also take initiation, first or second initiation? It's always such a beautiful ceremony, and it's always so exhilarating to be a part of it. Throw some grains in the fire, and it's a moment where the initiated, makes firm vows and a commitment, and the purification of the fire is there in the presence of the Vaishnavas and the deities, and it's so purifying. So you can just imagine he shone brightly in his Brahman effulgence. And when he walked away, he went to join these Ashvamedha sacrifices that are being performed by Bali Maharaj, because he was here for a purpose. And he's described, he's just this little dwarf, little brahmachari, but because he is actually the Supreme Lord, and he's the proprietor of everything, as he's walking with each step, he's pressing down the earth. So he went there to go for begging, because that's what brahmacharis will do, brahmanas will do, they go for begging, yes? And when Bali Maharaj saw this personality walking towards the sacrifice, there was such a brightness, such an effulgence, they were thinking, is it the sun god coming? They couldn't immediately understand. But this is interesting, he welcomed him. Again, like we were saying before, because every ashram, we need to know what is our duty. So he understood, I'm the king, I'm in charge of this fire yajna, a brahmana is coming, I have to do my duty, welcoming him. See, that's what is doing him good, doing his duty. So he welcomed him, he washed his feet, and then he knew to put the water on his head, because he was meditating of his role model, Lord Shiva. He meditated on Lord Shiva. Oh, Lord Shiva, he welcomed the Ganges on his head. So he followed that example, you see. And gave him a hearty welcome and paid his full obeisances. So a free heart, a non-envious heart. No ambitions or motivation, he was just genuinely, happily, lovingly doing his duty. And he said, now my family is blessed and my sacrifices become complete. I'm now free from all sinful reactions. Immediately there's words of praise. So we don't just externally welcome somebody and internally think, oh God, why did he turn up here? That's the last person I want to deal with right now. Oh, please come in, yes, take a seat. No. You see, we have to be honest from within the heart. We have to mean it. And how do we mean it? Because we see everyone in relationship with Krishna. Or we wait, at least we behave properly and we control ourselves, because it's good for us anyway to have a good heart, free from duplicity. That's a good thing to be, isn't it? And then even if somebody turns out a miscreant or some mischievous person, well, Krishna will take care. I tried it out one time. A long time ago, like I said, we opened a little preaching center. It's a long time ago, but it's a true story. And we had one regional secretary in charge, and I just really didn't like this person. So we're young grihastas, doing some preaching, and there's this person in charge, coming and watching what we're doing and what I thought interfering like that. That's how the vision was, contaminated vision I had at the time. But I learned this thing, that as a grihasta, it's my duty to do this like that. And I knew it had to come from the heart. So there was a gathering, and some sannyasis and other leaders were coming, and we had this lunch. And I thought, okay, Krishna, all or nothing. I mean it, I'm going to be sincere, I'm going to do my dharma, you see. And so we cooked this nice lunch, and then when this person came, I just really, from within all my heart, I welcomed him. I'm so happy to see you. Please come in, take a seat, let me serve you. And it was amazing. The impact is amazing, because my consciousness shifted from what was not such a nice consciousness anyway. It didn't do me any good to have that kind of mind frame. And this person showed himself from a completely new side that I was not aware of before. I learned that there's more to this person than just what my eyes were perceiving, and I could actually respect and appreciate it better. And then when you can do like that, then after some time you can even laugh about your differences. I was really thinking, but now I understand, you see. So it's a nice thing to do. Anyhow, so Bali Maharaj, he felt blessed, coming, and he's a Brahmana. Now please ask for charity. You can have anything you want: cows, gold, house, food, a daughter of a Brahmana, villages, horses, elephants, chariots, anything. You can have it. So with a free heart, he offered. And that in of itself, because actually it's the Lord coming, because he acted on religious principles, the Lord becomes pleased. You see? So whatever we're doing to please the Lord. I had a really hard time with that one time when I was really, really, really angry with somebody. This person had really hurt my heart, and I was suffering, and I was traumatized, and I was really angry. And I did a forgiveness workshop with Mahatma Prabhu. And it all sounds really nice and good in theory, but to really go in the heart, and you mean I'm going to have to forgive this person? Like, I couldn't get my head around it for a long time until I understood this point, that forgiveness is the first quality that Krishna really appreciates in his devotee. So if for no other reason, we can do it for the pleasure of Krishna. And then miracles happen in the heart, and these grievances are taken away, and we're given new views. And we're released, actually. We're relieved and released, because we're freeing ourselves from our own karmic reactions, and we're putting ourselves in a spot where we're not creating more like that. So this is the main point here, that Bali behaved in such a way, and the Lord was pleased. That's what got it. That's what the clincher is, you see. And then Bali, of course, Vamanadev, he expresses, no, that's okay. I don't want to be greedy. I just want to ask what I need. I just want to ask 3 paces of land according to my footstep. Bali's kind of like, oh, that's pretty cute. He's only so little. Come on, don't be foolish. But he's not saying it in a malicious way. He's kind of like just encouraging him, like almost fatherly. What are you saying? Don't be silly. You've got these tiny little feet and you only want 3 steps of land. I can give you so much more. No. I don't want to, be greedy. And, Bali Maharaj, you're not prudent to your self-interest. But Vamanadev, he immediately explains, one who is not self-controlled can never be satisfied. That's the key point here. One who is not self-controlled can never be satisfied. If you don't have your senses in control, your mind in control, no matter what happens around you, you'll never be satisfied. It's amazing. It's amazing. I see it all the time. As a devotee, we try to practice this mind and sense control. And then whatever Krishna gives, we can be so joyful. We can be so grateful. Oh, look, Krishna's giving me this. But if you're in a mundane, uncontrolled frame of mind, in a frame of mind where you're thinking, I need to live my life to satisfy my senses to the max, you see, then no matter what comes, shifting house or a new car or whatever it is in life, you won't have any appreciation for it because it'll never be good enough, you see. So he's saying like that. Now Sukracharya, so Bali Maharaj, all right, Tatastri, that's what you want, that's all right. Sukracharya, his guru, comes in really powerful now. Stop! What are you doing? Hang on a minute. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. Now, he's here to help the demigods. And Prabhupada says, Hari, we say Hari. He's the one that takes everything away. Be careful. He'll take everything away from you. And it's explained here that superficially, and it's interesting because, especially in India, we see mostly people prefer to worship Lord Shiva because he easily gives. All your material desires he easily fulfills. And they try to avoid Krishna because of this. He's famous for taking everything away. But this is misunderstood. He only takes things away to take your misery away. It's not that he's some all-wrathful God watching over us, wanting to give us a hard time, or that all devotees have to be paupers. No, it's not about that. It's about what is hindering you from coming to Krishna. That's what he will take away. You see? So he takes all miseries away. There's that famous verse that Prabhupada quotes in the 10th canto, that the mercy towards my sincere devotee I show by taking away all his material possessions, and I'll steal his mind. Which is actually beautiful, isn't it? Because we're hearing Man mana bhava mat bhakto, always think of me. And Krishna is so beautiful, he's so enchanting. Why would you not want to think of Krishna? So he steals the mind in such a way so that you can think of him. All these other worries, mortgages and bills and career and whatever, we've done that already so many lifetimes. Why be obsessed with that? We just do the needful, but why be obsessed with that? And then Shukracharya even goes as far as to chastising him. You're a rascal. He's the guru. You're a rascal for thinking to give everything to Vishnu. You'll have no means of a livelihood. Actually he's speaking about himself. He's worried that if my disciple gives everything, I'm going to miss out. You see, that's really what's on his mind. So you'll be cheated and you'll be unable to keep your promise. And he advised that actually, now he's speaking Dhamma, and we have to be careful with that one. We can know the scriptures, but we have to also know how to use it. You know, as devotees also we run that danger that we know the Shastra very well. Well, you know, Prabhu, Bhagavatam says, you know, giving so many quotes. So we have to, when we use the Shastra, we have to be sure that we are using it for the correct purpose. You understand? So he's also very clever, just like Hiranyakashipu. He was very clever at Shastra. He was very learned. But how they're using it. And now Shukracharya is advising him, you know, actually your wealth needs to be divided into 5. You know, for religion, for your reputation, for your opulence, for sense gratification, family. And he says that your first responsibility is to the body. And don't give everything in charity. And he says, and what I'm speaking, this kind of falsity, not being tricky, that's not condemned. And he's making all these quotes. He's saying, you know, flattering a woman, or when earning a livelihood, or when your life is in danger, or protecting cows and Brahminical culture, and so many things he's giving as an argument, then falsity is all right. See, it's tricky. He's misusing the scripture. He's teaching him to be diplomatic, diplomacy. And actually diplomacy is one of the unwanted things in the heart. It's an anatta. Devotees are honest and straightforward and truthful. We're never diplomatic. But Bali Maharaj says, forget it. He just plain disobeyed him. Why? Why did he have that strength, that intelligence? He already pleased the Lord. So the Lord, like he says, as you surrender unto me, I will reward you accordingly. He says, those who are devoted with me, with devotion, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. Right? So Krishna will give intelligence. See, if we're acting correctly, according to Sadhu and Shastra, Krishna will reciprocate and give us the intelligence what to do. Where there's a will, there is a way. Yes, the material world is very bewildering. But if we're behaving and acting according to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, Krishna will immediately reciprocate and give us guidance and intelligence. Like that. So it already pleased the Lord. So he's remembering his grandfather. Who is? Prahlad Maharaj. He said, I'm the grandson of an illustrious devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, and I have his blessings and I will follow his examples. I will not become a Jita. Forget it. He just told him outright. And then we hear that verse where Mother Earth says herself, I can bear any heavy thing except the person who is a liar. So on that basis, he's saying, I fear more this thing of cheating a Brahmana than I fear death. Because at death, everything is lost already anyhow. Everything will be taken anyway. So he had that detachment, which is interesting. He's the king of the demons, but he had this detachment. And he says, my reputation is more important to me in this regard. And we must give charity to the right person. And then this is a little bit the Lord's humor here. He's saying, and anyway, if Lord Vishnu, if you're right, and this is Lord Vishnu, and he's afraid, that's why he has to appear to me as a little Brahmana, well, so be it. He kind of like found that a little bit amusing. And he said, I don't care if he kills me. So at this point, Sukracharya curses Bali. It's interesting, isn't it? I never, for a long time as a devotee, I could never get my head around with this cursing business. There's a lot of cursing going on, like, what is this? But anyhow, the fact that he's cursing his disciple, because a pure devotee, a sadhu, only wishes well. Of course, Narada Muni, he also kind of cursed Manigriva Nalakuvera. But when a pure devotee like Narada Muni curses, he does it in such a way that it will be for their eternal benefit. He knew that they will be standing as Yamala Arjuna trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj's house, and Krishna will liberate them. So the sadhu's curse is for the highest benefit of the person. But here, Sukracharya clearly is acting out of selfishness. And Bali Maharaj didn't care. He washed the Lord's feet, put the water on his head, the demigod showered flowers for this non-duplicious act. And now the Lord, and this is the climax of the pastime, of course, we know he just expanded. There's some beautiful paintings and pictures of that, how this little dwarf Brahmana expanded himself and his leg extended and expanded, and he took up all the earth. He became like the universal form, and he covered all directions with his arms with just one footstep. With the second step, he covered the heavenly planets up to Satyaloka. His nails pierced the covering of the universe. So that's just 2 steps. I mean, I sometimes think, my gosh, wouldn't that be a fabulous vision? You know, here you're sitting as the king Bali, and this little dwarf comes begging from you, and then the next thing, you know, he expands to the outer limits of the universe. To be able to witness that must be pretty far out. Anyhow, and that's how we know, because his toenail pierced the outer covering of the universe, and that's how the Ganges water came in from the causal ocean. So now the demigods, of course, they're worshipping the Lord. The followers of Bali want to kill Vaman. How dare you cheat our master in this way? It's always this anger. It's always this competition, isn't it? In our little lives, we're also struggling with that. So it's no wonder, you know, it's going on with these demigods and demons just the same. But Bali immediately stopped them. No, don't fight. The time factor now is against us. And then all the Daityas, they entered the lower region. Garuda came, arrested Bali because he couldn't fulfill the promise. So he arrested him with the ropes of Varuna. You couldn't keep your promise, so now you have to go and live in the hellish planets. It's pretty heavy, it's pretty severe, isn't it? Like, what's going on here? We have Krishna coming in the guise of Vamana. He's pleased with the worship of his devotee and his behavior. Yet at the same time, just because he couldn't fulfill his promise, like such an intense punishment, isn't it? When I heard this story for the first time, I was thinking, wow, You want to be careful how you deal with Vishnu, eh? Like it sounds so intense. But we need to understand here something. Like we said before, whatever the Lord does is all right. If He's known as Hari, as a thief, it's only to take those things away from us that stop us from coming to His love. So similarly, this cursing of Sukracharya was actually a blessing in disguise. I mean, Queen Kunti, she praised those that are, puffed up with opulence and birth and education, they can never come to Krishna. I give it all, I don't want it. Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim. I don't want any of it because it's stopping me from coming to Krishna. Krishna, take it away. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj gives a very, very famous prayer where he I'm just saying verbatim, but he says, for lifetimes I functioned on my intelligence, that which has only brought me to another birth in this material world. Krishna, just now, for once and for all, it takes a lot of courage today, this kind of prayer. But just for once and for all, I beg you, arrange my life in such a way that I can come to you and take everything away from me that's hindering me. You see? So, the rope of Vasuki seems like a harsh treatment. Treatment sometimes appears to come in very harsh ways. Just a few days ago, a sister of my god sister passed away. She's only very young, not even in late 30s something, young lady. And of course the whole family's going, through such an ordeal. But then when I read the report, here she'd been a devotee for a while, but then she decided to go back out in the material world. But you can never really stop thinking about Krishna. It's always on some level with you. And Krishna never forgets you, and He always hunts you down in some way or another. Hello, I'm here. Can you remember me? You did chant for a while. Remember me again. It's a good thing. I'm waiting for our relationship. Krishna does so many things, no? Anyhow, she kind of went apparently in a mundane direction again. And anyhow, somehow or other, this tragedy comes, and she was in ICU for many days, several weeks, and then in and out of coma. And then in the last minute, when it became clear that she's not going to make it, she started chanting, even, in an unconscious way. And her sister came with some, Ganges water and tulsi and like that. And she asked to have Prabhupada's chanting there in the ward, in her room going on all the time. And her partner was there. And this was one of her last statements apparently. She told her partner, chant! And he kind of just, Krishna, and sat down, like he did it reluctantly. He said, if you're not going to chant, get out of my room. That was one of the last things she said, you see. So, why am I saying that? So this Vasuki, the rope of Vasuki, this treatment that sometimes Krishna gives to bring us to this point where we can actually access His love, might appear harsh or severe. But in that, we also always need to remember He never gives us more than what we can endure. And His loving guidance and support is always there at every moment. He doesn't leave us in a lurch. We just might get momentarily bewildered by some tragedy or trauma. But actually the mercy of the Lord is always there, a very strong undercurrent. And it's just a matter of time, and we can appreciate it. And then we can understand that actually Bali wasn't bound up by this rope of Vasuki. he'd become bound up because Krishna allowed himself to become bound up by the love of Bali. He became purchased. Do you understand? You see? So because, sorry, I'm skipping ahead a little bit in the story. So he gets captured like that, and then he's thinking where to put the third step. Now again, this intelligence comes because he made a sincere and genuine endeavor. The intelligence came to him with the blessings of his grandfather, by the mercy of the Lord. Dear Lord, Atmani Vedanam. And he just bowed his head and said, please, you place your third step on my head. In other words, he fully surrendered to the Lord. And there's a point in time where we all need to come. That we understand, okay, actually I'm not in control, I'm not the doer, I'm not the enjoyer, I don't know anything. All right, Krishna, I give myself to you. That faith needs to come where we trust Krishna. He will take care. Better than what we could ever imagine. Like that. So the Lord is not cruel. The gopis, they were accusing Krishna like that. When Krishna disappeared, and there's this, Prabhupada mentions this word unmada, madness. When Krishna disappeared, and Radharani is speaking in this madness of separation, she's speaking to the bumblebee, and they were accusing Krishna of how cruel he is, how heartless it is. Just think, this lady Supanaka, she came because she was enchanted by Lord Ram, the beauty of Lord Ram, and he cut her nose and ears off. What kind of a Lord is that? Or then we hear the story of, as Lord Ramachandra also, when he fought with Sugriva, he shot Bali in the back. What kind of behavior is that? What kind of Lord are we following? They were saying like that, how cruel he is. But then when you go deeper into the story, like for example with Supanaka, we understand, yes, the Lord did accept her, but because he had made this vow, Ekapatni Vrat, in this incarnation I can only accept one wife, so he couldn't accept her just then. But in a future birth, he did, and that was Kubja in Mathura. That is actually Supanaka. So he deformed her so that no other man will touch her. And then he orchestrated a situation where she was able to have an intimate association with the Lord. So when the Lord appears like that, and we develop love, and this first instigation of love comes through the pure devotee, and it's only because of that inspiration we're able to surrender. In other words, when we learn to take note that we shouldn't be partial in our surrender, we shouldn't be artificial in our surrender, we shouldn't be conditional in our surrender, then the love for the Lord through the pure chanting will give us the effect of Krishna Prema. So that's why Srila Prabhupada always encourages us to engage in loving service. It's not the quantity or the opulence, it's the little things that we do with love that will touch Krishna's heart. Yasmin tushte, jagat tushta. Yasmin tushte, jagat tushta. The whole world will become satisfied if the Lord is pleased. And we have to put our faith with that. That if I can do a little thing, like Bali, he just welcomed him with a hearty welcome. If I can just do a little thing and I can please the Lord, everything will be just fine. Like that. So this mischief of Krishna appearing there in disguise as a Vamana is really only just apparent. And Bali Maharaj, he immediately understands this. He prays like that. What is the use of this material? It's amazing how the realization immediately flows. It's interesting in all of our stories that there's some kind of reluctance or some illusion, some hesitancy, something blocking. And when that gets removed, immediately there's such a flow of realization, like we heard from Sababoma Sataka last night. So the same thing happened with Bali. There's all these, so many, Bhagavatam is full of so many prayers, these outpourings of devotion. I've been saved from illusion. What is the use of this material body? And at that point, even his grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, appears. He's so impressed. My grandson, good on you, son. He's so impressed. His wife, Bali's wife comes. Now that's interesting. See, wives are very, very good to have around. It's just like the Yagnik Brahman's wife, or the Nagapatnis. Because to the wife, the husband is most dear. So the husband, makes a mistake or makes a blunder. It's the wife that will pray, please, dear Lord, have mercy. And that's another thing. We don't actually so much absorb ourselves in praying for ourselves. It's much more powerful when we pray for somebody else. Then Krishna will really be impressed. If somebody in our family is struggling or having difficulties, we can pray for them. It's like one time I was in Mayapur, Mahanidhi Swami was giving a class, and it was just at that time when Jayapataka Maharaj had that massive stroke, and one of the world famous neurologists that deals with strokes, he was amazed how this person is still alive. Anyhow, that had just happened. And so he was asking us all, this is in Mayapur, thousands of devotees are there. It was Ekadashi that day. Please follow the Ekadashi Brat and give your benefit to him. So we can do that also. We can do some Vrata, we can chant an extra round, we can say a prayer, and ask Radha and Krishna to please give the result, that bonus of that Vrat to this person. Many devotees have been saved and brought back to Krishna consciousness in that way, for sure. And so Bali Maharaj, he understood that Lord Brahma even comes and praises him. Wow, you served without duplicity and you offered everything. And the Supreme Lord also speaks again that this is my special favor, that I take away everything. And because he points out that this human birth is a rarely achieved birth. There's 8,400,000 species of life. There's only 400,000 human. And in those 400,000 human species, not all of them are acting on a human level. There's many that have got 2 arms, 2 legs, apparently human, but their consciousness is no better than an animal. So this human form is a rarely achieved birth, and it's only on this planet Earth that we have this opportunity to develop this Krishna consciousness. The demigods don't have that choice. The people in the low regions don't have that choice. They're just living out their pious or impious karma. It's only in this human form, on this earth planet, that you have the opportunity of choice. And this choice is, will I serve Krishna? Won't I serve Krishna? And that choice doesn't just happen one moment in time, and then from there on it's whoopsie-doo-dah, free go. No, this choice is with us every moment, every day. And the more we practice, well, no, this is not really favorable, I do want to serve Krishna, the stronger we'll become at it. And then when the moment of death comes, or the moment of some severe testing, like Bali Maharaj just had to go through, we'll have the strength and we'll get the support to deal with it. Prabhupada says death is the test, the final test for all of us. like that. So, I don't know how much time I have. I'm probably going way over time, am I?
8:30.
8:30 normal? Okay, just a few more minutes. Is that all right? Okay. So, the whole point here, and please, research it and study, is this word akinchana. That as a devotee, we need to come to this point of akinchana. That means we are paupers. We have this humility to understand, I have nothing. I am nothing. I'm nothing before the Lord. Akinchana. Nothing belongs to me. You see, akinchana. And there's this beautiful prayer by Kolavicharya Sridhar, that beautiful pastime where he's definitely a pauper. His roof is leaking, he's just got a simple heart to maintain himself. He grows a few banana trees. Everybody grows banana trees in Bengal. It's no big business to grow some bananas in Bengal. They're everywhere. But anyhow, somehow or other, he has a few banana trees. He sells the bark and he sells the leaves and he sells the fruit and the flower. And then he uses that money to worship Mother Ganga. And then Lord Chaitanya still comes and gives him a hard time. That's too expensive, you're charging too much. Anyway, today I will give you nothing. He's teasing him, he's playing with him. And he's like so humble. I mean, it's fabulous, isn't it? We have to be so mindful because we don't know how the Lord chooses to present himself to us. In what disguise? Do you understand? If Krishna can appear out of a marble pillar, he can manifest himself in so many ways, and we don't know. It could be that little girl at the Woolies checkout. Do you know what I'm saying? So we need to be diligent. We don't know how the Lord will and he will manifest. For sure, because he promises. He promises. Bhagavatam teaches. Prabhupada says more than what we want to go home to be with the Lord. He wants us. His heart is cracking. His heart is splitting for us. He's hankering for our relationship. He's very, very eager, very keen. It's not just us, being miserable in this world and somehow or other we have to grovel. It's not about that. It's about having a loving relationship, and Krishna is inviting us into that loving relationship, and he's really, really keen, and he's waiting. He's really, really anxious. You see? So anyway, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teasing Sridhar in such a way, but he's not fooled. He understands, this is my Lord. This is my Lord. And he offers this prayer. He says, by the power of devotional service, Bhishma defeated you in battle. By the power of devotional service, Yashoda tied you up. By the power of devotional service, Satyabhama purchased you. Defeated by devotional service, you carried the cowherd boys on your shoulders. Limitless millions of universes are manifested from your thoughts. Still, you personally carried the Gopa Sridham. Isn't that beautiful? So Krishna is captured. He is bound by the power of devotional service. And he doesn't ask much. He just asks a little leaf, a flower, some water. And with that, we can capture him and bind him up in our heart. It's like when Bilva Mangala Thakur, when he plugged out his eyes, and then Krishna appeared to him. Of course, he couldn't see him anymore. Baba, now how will you go to Vrindavan? You can't see, you're blind now. Anyway, I'll take you. Hold out your stick. Bilva Mangala Thakur puts out his stick and Krishna grabs the stick and drags him to Vrindavan. Like that. So anyhow, Krishna consciousness is so beautiful, isn't it? So the last note here is what we need to watch out for. Women and money and these kind of things, they're actually easy to give up, Shastra says. But what is difficult to give up is pratishta, desire for name and fame. Coming back to where the class originally started, being on that mental platform. I'm so important. What I'm speaking is so right, and my way or the highway. All this mental stuff. So anyhow, dear devotees, thank you for being here this morning and giving me this beautiful opportunity. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question. You said when Bali took the water on his head, he was actually meditating on Lord Shiva taking the Ganges on his head?
Yeah, that's given as like a role model. Sometimes when in doubt, isn't it, we also have that? Like, I remember going through a difficult time in my life, and I somehow or other, like I have serious reading, what I call serious reading, like this is what I need to study, and then I have relaxed, casual reading, something like Mahabharata at the end of the day, where you don't have to so much focus on philosophy, but you're just trying to get into the story. And I was going through a little bit of difficulty, and I'm reading Mahabharata, and as I'm reading, every now I'm thinking, hey, this is really cool, because it's just full of dilemmas. It's just one dilemma after another, right? And these are really very advanced and exalted personalities, powerful beings, and they're struggling with so many dilemmas. It kind of made me feel better every night, like, maybe it's all right. What I'm going through, it's all right. So in this scenario, he's in that moment, he's in a dilemma, apparent dilemma, and he's not quite sure what to do. So the importance of role models, good role models, is given. Yeah. That at that moment, that's why we're reading and we're hearing these stories. Well, how did such and such deal with it? Or how did my grandma used to do it? We need to have good role models.
Yes, but my dilemma is that I want to know how he was meditating on that when the Ganges didn't come out of the causal ocean until Lord
wow, I hadn't thought of that.
Yes.
That's a good question. He caught me. Are you into? Yeah.
And Shiva took it on his head.
Right.
And that came afterwards because he had to take the 3 steps to pierce the
yes.
universal.
Wow. That's good, thank you. Are you an IT student or something?
I am actually.
Well, that's a good question. And luckily, I'm saved by the bell. We understand that these pastimes are eternal.
Right.
And the Ganges flows in many different ways through the universe before she comes to this earth. So the exact sequence of that, I'm not sure. But I do know there's millions of universes, and these pastimes go on like a road show, in different, like that. So it doesn't just happen in this universe, it happens in other universes. So that might have already gone on in some other place and he just heard about it, I'm not sure. But anyhow, we can safely say that these activities are eternal. That's the best I can answer.
Thank you.
Lord Shiva is famous, for that. Can anybody else maybe say something more or better? I'm not sure how else to answer that. Any other comments? Yes, Mataji?
Yeah. I was just saying that when Bali Maharaj was bound by the rope and he was taken to the lower planet Sutala, and then Vishnu was his doorkeeper.
That's right, I forgot to mention that.
And he
Exactly.
was every day seeing him.
That's right.
And then Lakshmi was so upset.
Oh,
Vishnu is not there.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That's exactly right. Thank you. Yes. So, yes, exactly. And we spoke the other day exactly on that point too. that we make this point that, Radharani, or in this case Lakshmi, they're one-pointed. They're only thinking of Krishna or Lord Narayan, like that. They're one-pointed. But Krishna, he's in a difficult situation. He's forced to be multi-pointed. So, he might lie there on Ananta Shesha, having a relax, and his wife is massaging his feet. And that's all nice, and Lakshmi's very happy and peaceful. But then suddenly he runs off. Hang on a minute, where are you going? Well, I have to go there where my devotees are calling me. You see? So to illustrate, thank you for bringing that up, to illustrate how Krishna is definitely always our well-wishing friend, he says, anyway, I'm going to be here with you. I'm going to be your doorkeeper. Now that's actually a really considered a lowly position. Just the same way how Krishna agreed to be Arjuna's chariot driver, right? He is the Supreme Lord, but he's going to do the chariot driving. Just see the potency of that loving exchange. That's exactly what we were saying in that little prayer by Kolavecha Shrida. That Bhishma, he was determined to break that vow that Krishna said, I will fight, but I will not take up arms. And he said, yeah, right, let's see. And that whole instance, just to prove how Krishna will definitely always protect his devotees. And Bhishma, he was determined to show that, to glorify Krishna in that way. So it's very beautiful, very wonderful. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day today. And Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol. Hari Hari Hari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Hari. Nothing, everything is the gift of the Lord. Nothing is mine.